Stories start small, we just make them seem. Turn your bright idea to a moving screen. Farmy, Media, where your vision comes alive. Farmy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exclusive conversation brought to you by Farmy Beyond Podcast, organized by Farmy Beyond Media, the official media partner for Biextra Summit 2026, the leading initiative by Inside India. I'm your host Mayura, and it's absolutely wonderful to have all of you joining us today. Stay tuned with us for many more insightful conversation, inspiring speakers, and exciting upcoming events from the world of healthcare, biotechnology, and innovation. Farmivore Media is a digital healthcare and life sciences media platform dedicated to bridging the gap between education, research, and industry. Through podcast, educational initiative, and industry-focused engagements, we aim to empower healthcare and pharmaceutical professionals with practical insights, real-world exposure, and meaningful global connection. Bioextra Summit 2026 is a premier platform that brings together visionaries, innovators, researchers, policymakers, and industry leaders who are shaping the future of life sciences, biotechnology, and healthcare. So today we have a special guest over here, and I would like to just brief a small bio about Dr. Abhishek Mathur. Dr. Abhishek Mathur is a senior biopharmaceutical leader with nearly 2 decades of experience across drug discovery, CMC development, and end-to-end commercialization of biologics, biosimilar, and advanced modalities, including multispecifics and ADCs. He has served in scientific and executive roles at global innovators such as Amgen and Regeneron, contributing to the development and launch of multiple blockbuster therapeutics. His expertise spanned discovery strategies, CMC and technology development, scale up, AI ML integration, and global regulatory pathways, including submissions to the USA, FDA, EMA, and other major agencies. Across both emerging and established organizations, he has led innovation, portfolio strategy, and execution in complex high impact environment. Guided by patient centricity and biology first mindset, Dr. Mathur has built a lead portfolios that advance operational excellence and transitional outcomes. He holds a PhD in biological science from Northwestern University, an MBA in finance and global business from Duke University, and a BTech in chemical engineering from IIT Bombay. Good to have you,
Hello.
sir, over here.
Absolutely, Mayura, and thanks for having me over here. It's an absolute delight to be a part of this conversation. I usually enjoy this conversation very much because it also makes me think quite a bit about the state of things around us. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Okay. So before we started, just small brief, like what you would like. I'm going through your bio. It was quite intense and like impressive, really. So like, I'm damn sure whether like the audience will be really enjoy the podcast. So like, my first question is like, you have worked across drug discovery, development, and commercialization globally. Looking back, what experience has shaped your leadership philosophy the most?
Yeah, and that's a great question to start with because that takes me back to my the days when I was very new into industry, and coming from an engineering background and getting into the beautiful world of biologics, I started to realize over time, by more of a casual engineer to a more diligent scientist, that mindset got developed over time there. And the defining realization for me actually was to understand the principle of innovation, and that is the innovation only matters when it actually reaches its end users, and in our case, in our industry, it's the patients. I've seen throughout my career, last 20 years or so, the remarkable science happening around us. But many a times, this remarkable and fantastic science has also failed. But the reasons had little to do with the science itself. Whether it was launching biologics at a scale or advancing biosimilars, I think lessons were they had a pattern around them that scientific success alone is not enough. And the meaningful innovations are actually those that not only improve patient outcomes, but also expand access, scalability, and most importantly, affordability in the world we live in. To me, that's the essence of the value innovation. That experience actually shaped my leadership philosophy around three principles in a nutshell, which is purpose, people, and eventual execution. Purpose, of course, keeps us focused on patients. People do create the culture that enables the innovation, and execution is what finally transforms those innovative ideas into the real impact. So ultimately, for me, over time, leadership has grown to be about creating an environment where talented people can solve the right problems while staying focused on outcomes that actually matter to a to the society and vast number of people.
Amazing, amazing. So you have contributed to launching therapies at scale. What
Hmm.
separates successful innovation from innovation that never reaches patients?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, as I briefly mentioned earlier, most failed innovations do not fail because the science was wrong or faulty. They actually fail because the pathway to the patients was actually incomplete. And that's that's what it leads to the understanding that a successful innovation requires more than a great molecule or more than a great therapy. It requires manufacturability, the regulatory clarity to make it a successful regulatory a commercially approved product, commercial viability. People do it, is there a need for this product in the market or not, and a very very clear patient benefit. And the question I always ask to myself is, can this innovation create value in the manufacturing plant or in the clinic and ultimately in patients' lives? Is the organizations that can answer affirmatively to all these three questions are usually the ones that actually going to succeed.
Absolutely. But now biopharma is evolving rapidly, right? So which scientific shift do you believe will redefine healthcare over the next decade?
Yeah. So we have always evaluated scientific shift in terms of the technology, whether it's pharma, whether it's electronics, whether it's computer science, right? However, to me the biggest shift won't be happening as a single technology anymore. In the pharma specifically, going forward, it will be more of on the convergence of biology, artificial intelligence, and advanced manufacturing. For decades, our challenge was generating biological insights, and we continue to learn biology along the way. But increasingly, the challenge is more about the translating those insights into medicines faster, more predictably, and at a scale that improves patients' access. AI is definitely helping us understanding the disease biology at unprecedented depth now. However, engineered biologics are actually enabling those increasingly precise interventions. And along that, the advanced manufacturing, we see more and more case studies around that. Advanced manufacturing is reshaping the economics of producing and delivering therapies. So the organizations that lead the next decade will be actually those that can successfully integrate biology, engineering, data science, and manufacturing into a single seamless innovation engine that can compress development timelines, that can improve your decision making, and that can expand access to innovative medicines. To me, the future of healthcare will be built at that intersection.
Great. So you have worked extensively with biologics, biosimilar, and advanced modalities. Where do you see the greatest untapped opportunity today?
Mm. Well, in line with what I said in my previous response, the greatest opportunity is not creating the next breakthrough molecule anymore. They're happening all around us in every corner of the world. However, the next breakthrough would be democratizing the access to these breakthrough molecules or breakthrough therapies. The industry has already proven itself that it can create some extraordinary therapies, extraordinary molecules, whether it's gene therapy, cell therapy, and their maps, which is a big success story. But the bigger challenge now is making those therapies more affordable, scalable, and globally accessible. And take gene therapies for an example, right? They represent one of the greatest scientific achievements of modern medicine in last 10 years or so. Yet the hefty price tag that goes with them, keep them out of reach for most of the world's population. The true measure of innovation is not what we can actually invent, but how many patients can ultimately benefit from it. So technologies like continuous manufacturing, digital process control, platform-based development tech have the real potential to fundamentally reshape healthcare economics. And innovation is only useful if it reaches the end users in a more meaningful way. So the next decade, I'm really hoping, and I'm also seeing some good signs that next decade will reward those organizations that practice this value innovation. And what it means is not only inventing these new therapies, but fundamentally changing how these therapies are produced, delivered, and accessed. So the next breakthrough in biologics I don't think it will be molecule or a therapy type. It will be more of a manufacturing model, to be very specific.
Absolutely. But nowadays, AI and machine learning are becoming increasingly integrated into healthcare, right? So, which part of drug development do you believe will benefit the most?
So artificial intelligence, machine learning, people are seeing that it will solve all the problems. However, there's always a scientist, always a smart scientist who helps with the actual eventual decision making, because that scientist has a broader view of things around him or her, right? So the greatest value of AI will actually come from improving the decision making process. So like drug development is fundamentally a series of decisions made along the way, and these decisions are being made under some of the other residual uncertainty. So the AI, it will fast track this decision making process and improves the odds of having good decisions by integrating biological, clinical, and manufacturing data together, and using these data to make these decisions faster and with greater confidence. So I know there have been some notions that AI will replace scientists. I don't really think so. In fact, scientists will become a lot more important, and they can take higher level decisions much faster now. So AI will not replace scientists. AI will in fact amplify the human judgment. So the real advantage will come from the teams that can combine deep scientific expertise with this machine intelligence.
Very true. Now, so balancing speed, innovation, quality, and regulatory expectations is becoming more complex. Okay. So, how can organizations stay competitive without compromising standards?
And this is a very interesting question, and I fundamentally reject that the notion that speed, innovation, quality, and regulatory expectations are actually competing priorities. They are not, because poor quality creates delays, and strong quality systems can actually create very strong velocity to state of things. The organizations that consistently outperform, they understand that quality is not merely a regulatory requirement, but is more of a strategic capability. When scientific understanding, digital technologies, risk-based thinking, and a strong quality culture are built in from the very beginning, from the onset, these organizations tend to move much faster because they spend less time in correcting the mistakes that happen along the way, because they are prepared for it, and they have already evaluated the risk in a much earlier. The same principle applies to innovation also. Innovation is not about cutting corners also. It is about finding better ways to achieve better outcomes faster, more efficiently, and with greater confidence. So the teams that view quality, innovation, and compliance as sources of competitive advantage rather than the constraints or competing priorities, I think those are the best positioned to succeed, because they have built into their workflows, which enable them to succeed in a most linear fashion.
Very true, very true. So now you have worked across both scientific and executive roles. So, how should future leaders combine scientific excellence with business thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, being in industry where you are creating products for eventual users, in our case, patients, it's important for anybody, whoever comes in on day one into this industry, that person needs to be bilingual. they need to be speaking the language of science and the language and at least the understanding of business with equal fluency. And the reason is, a person can work hard to build some fantastic technology, but if it is not making much of a difference uh, to our eventual to the eventual patients, that innovation may not hold much of a meaning. I would rather have that kind of core research happen in academia, because that's a fundamental fuel that is getting readied to drive the industry further. So in industry specifically, the person needs to have understand the business along with being the master of science. And scientific excellence tells us what is possible, but business discipline and understanding those repercussions of those decisions that you make every day, it does determine what is sustainable. So the leaders who will define the next generation of healthcare, I think those will be the ones who can bridge these two, turning scientific possibility into meaningful patient impact by having the most efficient workflows so that business can stay put, and still, the profits are need to be made somewhere, right? And without profits, these businesses die down. So meaningful impact is very critical, in a fastest way is most critical. Affordability or targeting for patients is the most critical aspects.
Okay. So, according to you, what makes an organization truly innovation driven rather than simple innovation focused?
Yeah, so this is a subtle, very fine line, right? It's a wordplay probably, but I think there's still a little difference between the innovation-driven organizations versus innovation-focused. Innovation-focused organizations talk about brilliant ideas, talk about being innovation-centric, and they do celebrate these ideas, right? However, they need to take a bigger leap to make those ideas blossom in a more tangible way. So those are the organizations that are innovation driven. They build systems that can repeatedly convert ideas into the real value. And the key difference I've seen in my experience is the core culture of an organization, right? The organizations that are innovation driven, they do create an environment where experimentation is encouraged, learning is rewarded, assumptions are challenged every day, and that is when you can actually make the innovation work for the eventual impact on society. Most importantly, these organizations are the ones they understand that innovation is not just an event where you celebration an innovation day and you have done your job. It is, they understand that it's more of an operating system, a philosophy, where failures are not looked down upon. They are in fact looked upon more of a learning opportunity to bolster and foster more robust processes.
Nice. So India is becoming increasingly visible in global life sciences now. Okay. So what strategic moves are needed for India to become an innovation powerhouse?
Mm. So, building on the small molecule of pharmaceutical industry and vaccine industry, India has already established itself as a global leader in scientific talent and manufacturing excellence. But the next chapter for India is surely sure shot innovation leadership. To get there, we need to invest more deeply in translational science, patient capital, and long-term innovation platforms. I mean, too often I've seen the tendency is to be focusing on solving immediate or transactional problems. In the AI space, for example, a lot of companies have come up and because of funds or because of not so much matured ecosystem around them, they are left to build a SaaS platform, software as a service platform, rather than in working diligently on building some new technology or new realm of innovation altogether. Breakthrough innovation actually requires a sustained investment in those themes that may take years to mature. So the ecosystem needs to be catering to those kind of breakthrough innovation themes. Equally important, India should not define success by competing with China or replicating the West. I strongly believe that we are not competing with them. We should not be competing with them. One big thing on what drives us is the cultural component. And I strongly believe that with that, our opportunity is to create our own innovation model. And this model will be the one that can combine our scientific talent, our entrepreneurship, DNA, and importantly, affordability to solve problems that matter at global scale. If we can do that well, I think India can really move from being the pharmacy of the world to becoming one of the world's primary innovation engines.
Absolutely. But for like startups and emerging biotech companies, where do you see the biggest opportunities over the next 5 years?
Uh, yeah, so biggest opportunities for emerging biotech companies will not necessarily coming from bringing in new therapies, right? Or discovering a novel target, for example. Rather, they will come from reimagining how medicines are discovered, developed, manufactured, and delivered. I'm consistent with the theme that I've actually talked about already. Uh, we 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 in healthcare still face enormous challenges in productivity, cost, and access. So startups that can fundamentally understand these problems at the ground level, uh, and they can and that and who can fundamentally improve these economics, have the real potential to create disproportionate impact. In many ways, next generation of biotech leaders will be building platforms, workflows, and ecosystems, not just products.
So Baxter Summit brings together leaders across science, industry, and innovation. So, which conversation do you believe are more important for future for life sciences?
Uh, so, I mean, last 5 years, if not 10 years, the most important conversations have really evolved from the basic technology or the kind of process that one needs to develop from non-scientific now. I mean, they're not as scientific as they used to be anymore. Now they are based primarily on the ecosystems, on the enabling platforms, uh, like how the questions that are emerging now, and they're becoming more and more prevalent. How do we accelerate innovation while improving access and affordability? How do we leverage AI responsibly? How do we build resilient supply chains with the global uncertainties hovering around us, and we need to make medicines faster and cheaper? How do we attract and develop the next generation of scientific leaders? So most important conversations have really evolved from scientific to more ecosystem focused. And the future of healthcare now will depend on how effectively we can bring together the scientists, clinicians, manufacturers, regulators, even investors and technology leaders to accelerate this innovation and improve the ecosystem variables.
Amazing. Now, for the attendees who are joining Biostar Summit 2026, what mindset or the key takeaway would you like to them to leave with?
Could you repeat the question? Your voice
Yeah,
broke.
for the attendees who are joining Biostar Summit 2026, what mindset or key takeaway would you like them to leave with?
Well, I hope attendees leave with a sense of possibility. And we are
Great.
living through one of the most transformative periods in the history of medicine. Technologies that seemed like science fiction only a decade ago are rapidly becoming reality around us. So my key takeaway is pretty simple. The future will be shaped by those who can connect science, technology, and execution to create meaningful impact for patients. I mean, the most exciting chapter in life sciences is still ahead of us. Let's chase it fast and soon.
Okay, amazing. So now it was really wonderful conversation with you. Now we will have a small rapid fire questions. Okay. So, okay, the first one is like one emerging technology everyone should watch.
As biology by design, shifting discovering biology to intentionally engineering it, I think it will make it more predictable and more amenable to success.
Amazing. Okay. One quality every future biotech leader must develop.
Adaptability and listening aptitude.
Okay. One book or idea that influence your thinking.
The idea is the concept of value innovation
Okay.
that brings value to end users. And the book, I would say, Good to Great by Jim Collins. It is an amazing book, talks about how to take the leap.
Amazing. So one challenge healthcare must solve urgently.
Equitable access to innovation.
Okay. And one word to describe the future of biopharma.
Convergence.
Great. Okay. So Biextra Summit 2026 in one word.
I would say transformative.
Okay. Amazing, amazing. So it was really a great and very quick rapid fire round. So it was really good to have you on this show. Okay, so like few more insights if you would like to share or something like that.
No, I think I mean the questions were well thought of, but my message, or rather, I would say my suggestion to the new generation of scientists and technologists is, while things have been evolving very rapidly around them, and there's always a possibility of getting defocused, going after each of those things. My recommendation will be to focus on the real science and see, what science has the most linear and most direct path to creating impact on the society. Right. Focus on the problem solving, by having the end goal in mind. Innovation will keep on happening, but don't get swayed away by just by exciting science. Swayed, feel influenced by the eventual goal, and that will keep you anchored, and that will allow you to think several different ideas at the same time, maybe in different domains, in parallel industries also. So, very important for the new generation of scientists to focus on, stay, in the world of distraction, stay focused on building something meaningful, something that impacts the society very directly. And I mean, I have a strong hope with this new generation who are brilliant, who have information at their hand. So I think they are there to make these things reality, in our lifetime and much more.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Abhishek and Biostra. So see you in the next podcast and stay tuned with Farming One Media. Thank you so much for having
Absolutely.
us here. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
Mayura. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Pharmivon Media, your voice in pharma and healthcare media.